Hello, traders. This is Alex with COTLive.com website. We're going to do a WD Gann thing on gold. I'm going to do a little research, a complete study, using the Excel Master or the Excel Squaring Calculator. Which, if you want to purchase it, you can scan it here or go to the website. And then also the Excel Master Chart Calculator, and you can purchase that as well on any of these other products. Um, Again, I like Gann stuff. Now, again, the squaring of the range calculator, that's not necessarily a Gann thing. It's just a mathematical thing. Gann used to use it, Fibonacci, a few others. Um, but I like it as another process of finding dates, right? So that's kind of my whole thing, is to find the dates. I'm a date trader, and accumulation of dates, preferably, right? So I went back to the gold chart, and you can see we just made new all-time highs last year, so it's a little tricky on the squaring of the range. Won't be a whole lot of data points there. But I'll take this low, and this high, right? Because that's squaring of the range. Now, I also those are the main data points. Now, of course, on the master chart, we'll take that high, that low, that high, this low, that high, this low, that high. So again, not a whole lot of data points either. On a more shorter term basis, right? Here's the weekly chart. You can see we kind of had a bull trap. Maybe a potential 3 highs unless it keeps grinding higher. And of course, last year's range, just to put it in perspective, since we're doing a complete thing, last year at the end of January it chopped, poked a high on March 8th. So this year we did not chop. We are accelerating on a gap after the first of the year, opposite of not gas, which went straight down. But so that's kind of the gold, right? I mean, you can also go back, see what it did the year before. And my website will have all that on there too, on the previous years. We made a high in January 6th in 2021, at the first week of the year, and made a low, again, pretty important. We made that March sequence opposite of this one. So you don't know what it's going to do until it gets there, right? It might be a high again in March, or maybe we'll get hammered and check this gap out. You just don't know. So we're going to go through this data on the gold and do a complete workup of that market, and then we will take a look at it when it's all said and done, and plot it on a chart and see what we come up with. Now, again, I haven't done this to gold. Nice thing about gold and crude and a few of those, even the S&P, and they do have micro contracts now, which is 1/10 the size. So you don't have to, the as a longer term investment, depending on your risk parameters, you don't want to risk 30 grand to trade something, right? Maybe you just want to trade it for more of your pocket size, right? So the micros, there's minis, there's also regular ones. You can trade options based this data as well. So there's a lot of avenues, right? It's just not one set fee. Margins have come down a little bit on gold. They were 10 grand, now they're 7,900, I think. So they have come down a little bit. But the market hasn't broke much either, really, right? I mean, you can just see when we pulled up that chart that we're really near the highs again. So let's go through the data. Again, I plugged all this into the Excel's range square calculator. I just want to go through a few of the tricks to using this program and understanding how it works. It only takes 3 squares. That's all it can program. So when you plug in the data, and I've created these little cheat sheet links to make sure that you, again, I like to encompass obviously the next year so I don't have to do it right away, and a little bit of history, right, to plug in the data. So 2022 to 2000 whatever, right, whatever it wants to go out. And again, you can change the speeds on that right here. And whether you're, I plug all these in typically, and plug all these in, except for I don't use all the squaring highs or lows, especially, gold just made a new high last year, so I wouldn't square from high to zero. It's just not data. It doesn't make sense to do that. And I wouldn't square, even probably look at squaring the high. Again, we just had a low what? I mean, it's just not long enough data, so I probably won't put that in. But whatever you put in, I mean, it encompasses it. And you can see these are the data points that I plugged in. And these are other ones that I've done. But so those are the 4 data points on the squaring calculator. But the key thing, again, I just want to emphasize, you can only take 3 squares. So if you're trying to get 2022 and half of that, let's say, that's good, then you could click 2022 there and start with January. Again, you don't have to use January, but something before that, right? Because the program's gonna pick that up, anything greater than January 1, right? So that's kind of how it's used. And again, I'm not a price guy, but if you want to look at some prices, you can plug all that data in. Now I've done the gold already. I don't want to go through and waste your time, but these are the price structures. If you're into price, and this is the well, if I can get it, gummit, and then won't let me go over unless I pull it up. Yeah, these are all the price structures, and it gives you the percentages, and it also breaks it down. So we currently gold as of today. Today is the 25th, Wednesday. I've got gold last at around 1941. You can see we don't have a whole lot of zones to work with. 1957 and change, so is the next one. So 1990 is the one below. Now I also take all these data, and then this is the actual dates from all those squares. You can see there's quite a few. Again, that's not only 4 data points, but this is what we'll be looking at on the data. Again, we're in January of 2023, and we'll go back a few months of last year just to see how it looks. And then we're also going to take the master chart. And we're going to plug in that data as well to get a good representation. And I believe that is still the gold in there, yeah. So again, the master chart will take those important dates. And again, this is the price structure. And we're going to take the important dates, almost like plugging them into the middle of the spreadsheet. And then the master chart, of course, this is the odd squares, this is the even squares in theory. So all these dates are mathematical, and as you go around in revolutions, they become pretty important the further out you go. So, because you get too many in here, but So that's how it works, right? I mean, that's where the dates are being contrived, is from this master chart program. And again, this is the simple form, right? The complex one is this one. You can break it down into simple. These are the revolutions. This is the price structure, and this is the dates out in the future based on the date that we got right here. Now, of course, this program can get a little more complex than that. You can double. You can double the price, whatever's inputted, or also you can go down from a high. Now, there's some calculations there that you'd want to do. If you're doing a high, let's say, gold just made a high. See if I got an example in this program here. Gum, let me get this a little fit into the window for crying out loud. But this is the, again, it's similar, right? You take a high and it'll count down whatever you got plugged in, 1 cent a day or whatever down. So yeah, that's kind of a simplistic way. I won't use that one in there. I don't know why I brought that up, but there's a lot of things it'll do in this program. So we're going to plug all that data in on the master chart, and then we're also going to plug in all that data then into the square range calculator. And I'm going to put you on pause here while I set that up, so I'll get that chart pulled up and have the data plugged in so we can go through it. Hang with me 1 second. Okay, it took a little time to plug all that data in. The red marks that we have here are going to be the range squaring, and then I believe the blue dots will be the master chart. So, and again, that's just from those simple data points, right? That's not getting too complex. It's all-time high, all-time low, and stuff like that. So you can see we're starting off, obviously, and I'm going to try. I might have made a mistake or two, but I'm trying to keep it so that when we look at this data, because you don't know that if this is a low or not, right? It could be continuation, could gap lower. So we'll kind of treat it as that. But we know that there's something important here, right? There's 4 things coming in on the 26th of September. I believe this is September. Yeah, 26th September. Oh, there it is. And we're going to just go day by day and kind of go through it. We didn't have anything coming in the next day. So this, if you're a stop person, you might have stops following here, or at least at the maximum above this swing high. Now we had a few things coming in. Yeah, just 2 things, both on both the master and the range. And it was an outside day, so I guess they call that the signal day. And we did take out this accumulation day, so and the void day. I call these void days when they don't have anything on them. And then we followed it up with another pair. Inside day, kind of a crappy close though. It took out the high but closed lower. But it gapped higher. Again, you got to remember gold closes at officially 12:30 in the afternoon, but it keeps trading until 4. So some of the gaps are a little tricky because again, you have the Globex trades from 12:30 on to 4, and then it opens back up at 5. So you got to understand some of the gaps will look massive, more massive than they really are, especially during the week. Now the weekend, of course, makes it's official. All right, we knew that there was 3 of them coming in. Again, we knew that there was 3 coming in, so we were anticipating something, activity happening, right? Just like we anticipated some activity happening. Now, it took a couple days, but it did come in. Well, we knew there was some activity coming in here of 3 different events, accumulations of dates. And you can see that, this is October 3rd. We had a couple more up here. Now, again, I cheated. I should have brought those down here. Well, let me just do it. Because, again, you don't know that's a high yet. Now, that trend line is an important trend line. So we knew that's off the highs trend line, off the all-time high. So that's a pretty important trend line, and we went up and powered up and hit it. Now, again, you don't know what it's going to do. But, again, at minimum, you know that this low shouldn't get taken out, and if nothing else, this low, where some of the accumulation is. We have an inside day, hit that downtrend line again. This is still intact. Another inside day, and it's also void, right? You don't see any timings in here. So this no timing day, a void day, and this no timing and two void days so far. Well, we did break that out and took out that. We closed a little better though. So a little suspect. I'd like to, if I was heavily bearish, right, I would like to see it close below this level. It did the next day, and again, one of those 4 o'clock odd closes that looks more bearish than it probably is. But we definitely confirmed that's a high, so if you were trading it, right, now your stops are minimum above this, probably above this swing. We had a 1 day, again, that was a void day. So we have really not much. We got one each day, one on the master chart, and then one on the next day, which was an inside day, but it closed lower, right, which was a negative sign. Pressure is applied. The next day we had no timing coming in, and it was a squirrely kind of an outside day, but I think it maybe a doji, right, or whatever candlestick deal. I think it closed, not doji, what do they call that? Well, anyway, it closed right where it closed the previous day. But we knew, right, that there was a bunch of accumulation and timing coming in. With that void day, it makes it mysterious, so you would have been patient. We knew we had 5 of them coming in, and this squirrely day ended up being a signal day to the downside so far, with 5 of them coming in. And definitely, if you haven't put on a position yet, this kind of becomes an important entry point area potentially, right, depending on where this goes through. Inside day, we had another accumulation, another ugly inside day, but it closed lower. Again, trend is down. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days of the high. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days to this low, and now we're on the second day. So it really needs to go up here and probably knock out that low. All right, we did bust it. And again, no timing. We have a little timing here today, so that if you did sell it up here, right, and followed it down, you might likely put stops here at minimum above this high right here, right? So 1695. And especially since you knew ahead of time that the next day we had 6 accumulations coming in. So we were, at least I would have been anticipating a possible low. We have a double bottom, which is highly unusual, 1650 and a half, 1650. So we did take it out by a smidge, but probably not enough yet to excite me. But we did cause a reaction. If you were short, right, and you knew that there was 5, 6 things coming in, well, you can buy a call if you want to stay short. You could exit and wait. Now I wouldn't reverse or anything based on that data, but we knew that if it made a new low, that increases the odds that it could be a reversal up, or at least a higher close, right? And that's, was both. So an outside day up, a double bottom, which is highly unusual. Again, I don't like double bottoms. We have a void day after that, So, and again, a crappy close. Trend is definitely still down. We had a timing coming in here. Kind of a sloppy low. Another 2 here. So if you did get out, and you're still bearish, right, you'd probably could put your sell stops in here. And sure enough, it did go down through that. Again, really can't confirm this as a high or anything. Really longer term, this is still the important area, in my lowly opinion. Gann used to use a 2-day trend line indicator, right? So you could follow a 2-day trend line indicator, and that's where you'd be. There was no consecutive 2 days up, but this is 2 days up because this 1 day down didn't count, right? So it'd be 1, neutral, 2, neutral, day down. So we haven't had a second day down yet. So in theory, this could be a stop area. Again, this is near the accumulation of that previous period. We did have 3 of them coming in. Again, potential bottoming action. I still don't like this double bottom, right? That's just not my thing. I'd rather see it get punctured. But, there was some data points there, kind of a soft close. Again, a squirrely day, no timing. Closed again steady, which just, I don't know. It just doesn't, I don't like it. All right, then we had another day down. And then it finally broke out and confirmed this potential bottom. Again, if it takes that out, again, I like the series of 3s, right? So I might be watching a little more close if we ever took that out and had another low. Now we did have one here, so we did take it out. So this movement is indicative of a bear trap, right? The market took out those lows and reversed. Void. Another outside day. We took out finally the downtrend line, which is a big one. Again, that goes back a ways, right, since the highs of last year. So that's a pretty big, important breakout. With all this biggest accumulation still being one of the major lows, this one was the breakout. We had 3 in here. Void, no resistance, void. And then we finally had 3 coming in. So since that void, that's a pretty big pop. You're talking 8 grand with no resistance. So now we knew there was 4 coming in here. We had 3 here, 4 here. So punching new highs, I would have been buying puts or something, right? Knowing that there was some accumulation, and just maybe a weekly put, right? Something short term, just to make sure that it's not some swing back down to the downside. Currently, this is getting close to Thanksgiving. I guess we got a little week to go. An inside day, so still not bearish, but again, a soft close. So these highs are important, right? You make new highs, you almost got to go with them. Well, it didn't. It took out the lows on a void, though. So a little suspect. Now we have some timing, and we cleaned out these 2 sequences, so the high becomes real. We had 2 timing coming in, another 2, and then we had a big one, which is what I watch for those bigger ones. And we knew that was coming in, right? We knew weeks in advance, or months even, that we had a big accumulation coming up. Now that's a holiday trade, right? So some of the dates are getting sucked into the holiday. But still, that's Thanksgiving deal. We have 4 of each. 4 of the master chart and 4 of the range square calculator. And if you did sell this, you would probably, again, buy calls short term, or maybe just get out and see what it does, right? Obviously, I'm cheating here a little bit, and see this trend line in here. But Again, avoid after the big zone, which makes sense. We had a couple coming in here. Now I drew these down here because it's an outside event, right? You don't know if it's a high or low yet. So now you watch the open. Now again, it closes officially at 12:30 and trades till 4. So, it could have closed up here by 4 o'clock. So this next day will be interesting. Yeah, it opened right there. So, but we didn't take out this low. That it should have, right? If it's an outside down day, and we have another day here. I mean, if you're tight trader, you might put your stops right here. We have another couple day. Again, ugly stick, right? Has a big punch out highs, closed lower, so kind of a reversal. But again, if it's really bad, it would have taken this out. So once again, you watch the opening at 5 p.m. Well, it gapped higher. Oh, that must have been a weekend, no? November 30th. Wow. Anyway, it gapped higher, made new highs. So again, this low obviously is confirmed, and the one before also was the low. And the one before that, oh, I guess that's where we started. So again, you can see how those accumulations kind of work out. Now again, the gold's always a squirrely trading market. Not one of my favorites to trade. Maybe to day trade, but not to trade longer term, because you get these weird events all the time. Big outside event. Again, I put them down here because the next day will be important. So 5 o'clock, you're watching the gold. Once again, it did not gap lower, which is odd, right? So, or at least trade quickly lower. I mean, the whole day stayed above the range. So, and again, it traded similar to this pattern. So obviously people are watching it. We have some mild timing coming in. We had a 4 timing coming in, accumulator. And we knew that ahead of time, right? So we were watching to this day for something. Now, again, I wouldn't have probably sold this here. I'm more of a swing guy, but I would have maybe gotten out and then re-enter if it makes new highs. And it did go up, and this still holds, and actually this held, for crying out loud. Once again, it just failed to be weak, right? So that's a trend we're seeing, and something you take a note of. And again, if you get scared, buy a put, man. Don't get out. Or, if you're kind of bearish, but I mean, you buy a put as a new position, right? Don't just sell it there because it's ugly. Hasn't proved anything yet, right? You don't want to ever act trading scared in the market. The market will own you. But you can be conservative, right, and buy some options. Anyway, it ended up being a high. Now this line here, that's last year's, or December 31st close of last year, right? So that's kind of, we are at 0% for the year of 2022 right here. So again, that's kind of important area, right? And keeps me more neutral. This is a void day, really no timing. We have a little one here, little one there, another little one here. We hit that last year's close. So we're at 0% for the year again. We backed off of it. Now you can see this trend line that I cheated on. Now we have a big accumulation. We knew that was coming. So we got some big coil, right, an ascending triangle here. So new highs need to be purchased. Now, if you're kind of bullish gold, which a lot of guys always seem to be, buying 1850 calls or 1860 calls might be a logical play here. Or buy 3 calls and sell the futures, right? If this gets knocked out, your sell stop so would have to be below this somewhere. Well, it made a new high and closed higher. So that's, again, all these would be pulled down here, right? I didn't want to show you the hand ahead of time. But now this is a confirmed low, actually. right? Making new highs. Now the close suck though, so a little question mark there. Again, your risk point probably still these chop lows all the way down to here, so it's not a low risk trade. We had 3 coming in and it made a new high. Now this is the first of the year, first trade of 2023, making new highs. That's not bearish. Anytime I see the market closing near the highs of the year on the last day or two of the year, that tells me that logically that you're going to have at least February, maybe even March, a high, or it's going to keep pushing, right? You go back in any chart when it closes on the high of the year, you stand up and take notice. Now, of course, we're not the high of the year, but it closed at 0. Anyway, we got it moving up. I'll try to get through this. I'm running out of time. We had 4 coming in here on January 6th. Again, that 0% level is now support. We knew we had 4 coming in here. So this next day, making this push, you might buy puts, right? If you're a little concerned, buy weekly ones, heck. Because if it can't go below 1890, it's not weak at all, right? So you can spend a little money on those weekly puts just to find out. I'm going to just go through the rest of the data till we find some bigger ones like this one. Well, this is actually a couple days ago, on the 23rd. We had 5 of them coming in. Again, really it should have been above here because it did make a new low, but the reason why I did, because it didn't knock out any support. This inside day with no timing, a void day, I don't really count. We have a void. Now this is today's activity. We had, again, this is the 25th when I'm doing this. It's about 1:30 in the afternoon, so it closes again at 12:30 officially, and then trades till 4 on the Globex. So this close is a little interesting, right? We're an hour into the close. Now I already plugged in some data in the future. January 30th. These are all master chart timing. We have 6 of them coming in at the end of the month. I don't know if I did any more or not. So let me yeah, anyway, so that's how I combine them, right? Again, you can get it more or less, but I like it, I like it simple. I like to plot them on the chart, go through the history just like I did, and then that gives you a little feel for the market, right? Some of these machine trading things, their problem is they have no feel for the market. They don't have the angst, the emotions of getting stopped out, because you're going to have some losers for sure. But using those options, especially those short-term weekly options, is what I like. That saved me a lot of money. Because now again, a lot of the stocks have weekly options, right? You can do the same thing there. Heck, you can trade the weekly options, short-term options, and not the monthly ones, and that's how you trade. Now you can exercise them and take the actual shares, but why have that? Especially in stocks, you're buy something for little or nothing on the options, but still have and really no time value, right? But you don't have all that money outlay. You have the still reward, but not the risk. Again, if 9/11, God forbid, happens again, you don't have that risk. All right. So this is my website, and that's the goal. I might follow up with that trade down the road, and I hope you all have a great year and have a good, profitable trading rest of the session. Goodbye.